Guys, we have brought out the Corsa VXR today. It is looking so good. I thoroughly enjoyed my drive here, and with those silver wheels, this thing looks exactly like it did over 15 years ago when I first saw it. But today we are down at JW Auto. Sorry about the noise in the background. We are working with a very interesting machine today that I will put in a completely separate video, because today's video isn't necessarily about that machine or what's going on, but it is about the same car. Jason noticed something, the RS Turbo engine he bought many years ago that we've been featuring, and yeah, it was going to go in the 16i. We need to talk about it though. Right, Jason, so this isn't how we left the engine when we saw it last time, is it?
So, as with all these things, I had an engine that's been sat in storage, it's going not 2.5 years, okay? It was a forged engine, there were receipts for such width, it was just a bottom end. Anyway, as with everything, went to fit a cam belt to it. And sadly, the bottom of the half engine would not turn, would not spin.
Oh, it wouldn't spin? Oh,
so,
wow.
Crank was stuck in a position, weren't really sure why. With everything that's unknown, it was spinning, but it's been sat. Found that some water had got into the bores, and had, unfortunately, a very minor amount of corrosion had just etched on to one of the rings on piston 2.
Right.
So now a full rebuild is ensued.
So again, this started as
it was on the engine bay, ready to go,
wasn't it? Yeah, we saw it in the last video.
All pretty and done.
Yeah.
And the last thing to check was obviously the bottom pulley to put the cam belt on. I've been waiting for a kit, Gates kit, as what you should fit to this car. And yeah, here we are.
And here we are. So
quick run over to George yesterday.
Okay.
George, I've got this problem.
Shout out to George at the garage.
George at the garage. He, before my very eyes, I made him a tea. Before I knew it, I turned around and the pistons were out. So
wow, he's a guy, isn't he?
We ordered, we found that some, obviously we didn't know what was in there really. We knew it was a good engine. It does have PEC rods and Wassner pistons and ACL race bearings. They are the best concoction for the cake you could wish for, I think. So, that being said, now we've pulled it apart, I've ordered and replacing the ring set on the Wassner pistons. Shout out to Wassner UK, blooming amazing company. Phoned them up yesterday, gave them the specs of the pistons. They are a 1mm overbore, they're an 81mm piston. They had the rings on the shelf and they are on their way today. So amazing, they were very competitive in the price market, being direct. Wassner UK, thank you very much.
Shout out to them then. So we have a box of stuff that was in there, Now, anyone else that follows Jamie's channel and has built CVH turbos along the way, you may have heard, in the last 10 years, there's been some dodgy oil pumps knocking around. Now, the only thing I might not replace is the oil pump, because I know where this came from, this engine. It was a good oil pump and it served it well. It's in very good condition. I have ordered a new one because I'm not being a skinflint, but I'm petrified of fitting it because 11 years ago, a friend of mine called Matt, we rebuilt his engine in his kitchen, and if he watches the videos he will laugh at this. We rebuilt his engine in his kitchen, we did a CVH turbo. It lasted a week, and the oil pump shattered and destroyed his freshly rebuilt turbo engine. No way!
And those oil pumps are still knocking around in the system.
They're still in circulation.
So we may refit this oil pump because we know it's good. Genuine ones do not exist, and if they do, there'd be a lot of money. So it is the aftermarket variants that are available. We know this one's good. It may well still stay attached to the pickup and go back on the car. We'll have a look at the other one and we'll make that decision on the day. But we haven't, as we're there, we've got new shells, new bearings for the crank and the pistons, and obviously a new ring set for each piston as well. So George has freshly honed this to remove any forms of marks. He's 98% happy with it. Being as it is a sympathetic old engine build, we're not going to the process of reboring it. He was being pedantic. I couldn't even see what he was talking about. But he did, as he explained, he is anal. But he's happy for it to go back together as it is. So it'll have a full fresh rebuild with new shells, as I said, new water pump as well, maybe a new oil pump, not entirely sure. This Friday is D-Day for the engine, so all these components will go back into my transit and then get transported back over. Now this piston and rod set is still a thing. They're still available from Burton's, and they retail at a little under £1,400.
Oh wow!
So
Okay.
A good find.
They're still readily available though.
Yes.
That's quite interesting actually. I wouldn't have thought something like that would be on the shelf in a sense.
On the shelf, available to order from Burton's tomorrow.
Yeah.
So and they do them in standard piston size, 0.5 and 1 mil overbore.
Oh wow.
So you get 2 goes on one of these engines.
Yeah.
And then after that, there's no more reboring, because obviously it is a very tight gap.
Yes.
Brings me on to head gasket torque. So on my Series 1, we had a similar application to this. It did actually run a genuine Ford head gasket. So we're probably going to go down that line again.
Yeah.
The bottom half of the engine is all coupled together with ARP bolts. Brilliant news.
So they're absolutely fine.
So they're absolutely fine.
They're all good in there, yeah.
We're not going to be looking for more than 200 horsepower out of this car, so we're not going for ARP head bolts and we're not going for WRC gaskets. Okay. We are going to sit just at the safe threshold. Okay. I know everyone will think, well, why would you build it to go more? It's not a build more car.
Yeah.
I want the noises.
Yeah.
And I want a little bit of extra power. So
and reliability.
It's not going to be the all singing, all dancing, massive CVH build, but it will still be a pleasant one.
That's cool though. Like the amount of looking at this last time, thinking, yeah, right, that's ready to go in, and then obviously realising that it doesn't necessarily turn. Was not necessarily an afterthought, but it wasn't on the agenda to go down that route and again, find that out. In the workshop, the head is in place out there. We're going to take the head apart. We're going to reseat the valves, do all the basics while we've got it. I don't think it's going to need a skim. It wasn't long put together before it came out of the car. Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna check things as we go. Yeah. The crank is off at a engineering company over in Cowes. Standard crank?
Huh?
Standard crank?
They're good for the big power.
I was going to say there's no crank in there or anything.
No. So the crank has been sent off to be checked that it's straight.
Okay.
Just because why wouldn't you want it?
It's been sat and you don't really know, do you? Yeah. So you want to make sure.
And then we're going to polish it before we put the new shells in. We're doing that on Friday at the garage. So loads going on.
Yeah. Quite
good that we've managed to get within 10 days of things coming apart. Yeah. We've got an engine fully on its way to be refreshed.
Yeah. The
1600i engine is on the floor.
Yeah.
And there's some men in there.
Yeah, which is its own video, and I've already said to everyone that is its own video. Yeah. This had to be its own. Noisy. Yeah, that's what's so. This had to be its own video though, because this could have been quite catastrophic to the end of that engine and the pistons and stuff.
You could have rocked it in second gear and towed it around the block, and it probably would have smoked.
Yes.
This way, it won't smoke.
No.
It's just going to be a nice engine.
And now you know exactly the depths as to how nice this engine was. Yes, it was bought like this, don't get me wrong, with those pistons in the advert, but
unfortunately,
do you know until you pull it apart?
You get a bit of water in there, a little bit of storage, and unfortunately that is what happens.
Condensation, being around units, it's just how it is.
It wasn't bad. I wish I'd captured on camera, but obviously, to be fair, I was so panic-stricken.
Yeah. Oh my God, this happened, Right,
I'm taking it apart. And that's what happened. And I took it apart, and then we took it down to George's, and now we're here.
You definitely did the right thing to take it apart and actually see what the deal is, rather than trying to, again, get past it without actually delving into what you've got. Also, you know in your head that what you've bought is exactly what it says it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is always quite nice. Sometimes you don't actually know that you've bought this stuff, but you don't know it's exact. No, exactly. Now you know exactly those pistons are exactly those. You can buy bits if you need to, shells, whatever you need. You know you're exactly on the money for it.
But there's going to be some head work next, but that's only going to be stuff that I can do here. Sit on a bench, regrind the valves in, make sure it's nice and clean. Camshaft has been inspected, looks lovely. Nice. So got no concerns there. Put it all back together. So what's going to happen is when it's been reassembled, we'll then bring the engine back here. Then it's going to go onto the engine stand, and then we're going to assemble all of our intake. So all the new gaskets, new bolts, new nuts, and then get all the sensors in place. And then I've got a good idea on the engine stand how it's going to look. Get the rocket cover on there, just make sure I've got everything nice and torqued up lovely, so that when it goes into the car, there's no having to get around the back of the engine, it's all done. So we'll have all things like the ancillary air pipes, the breather system, the water matrix pipes will all be ready just to plumb into the car as it goes back into the bay. Nice. So I'm very excited.
I'm very excited. And when you said yesterday about this, I was a bit worried. But
it's all right.
We got a George, and we got you. You know what you're doing. George 100% knows what he's doing. He's dabbled in this so much.
I probably could have done this myself, but George knows what to look for. And if there was any sign of this block being a write-off,
he would have known
it's
straight
a write-off. There's nothing you can really do about it. So we needed to delve in deep. We've done that. We're happy to go back together. As long as we get the okay for the crank,
yeah, it
shouldn't be a problem. Yeah,
exciting. Well, I'm very excited to next video, I suppose, of this engine, see it coming back together and crank it in, and we will update you guys when that happens.
When it's on the stand, and I'll get all these components attached to it, and I can explain to you what we've used and where we've used. Also, another shout out to Burton's. I know everyone knows about Burton's, but I was on the phone to them for half an hour with part numbers yesterday for the shells. They have the ACL bearings in stock, they got all the gaskets I need in stock, the pumps, all in stock. Spoke to a man that knew his stuff, and that is so valuable. And I'm quoting to him, well, it's this crank, but it's a Mark III Escort engine, but it's a Series 2 crank, and he knew exactly what was needed. He had a part system in front of him, and sometimes just paying that little bit extra to make sure you get the right parts was brilliant.
Also, having someone at the end of the phone is like a bit of a dead thing these days. That doesn't exist. Usually over the internet, whatever. It's
also
having a phone call.
Having searched around, I couldn't find ACL bearings. The code numbers weren't coming up on any websites in the UK, but Burton's had them on the shelf.
Wow.
So that was great. So that was a good shout.
Shout out to them then.
It will go back together as it was. Fingers crossed it will do some good bits.
Yeah, hopefully. I'm excited.